Jaya Satsanga Deho he amare bosachi sangera she. Ekaki amar nahi pae balo Harinam Sankirtane. Ekaki amar nahi pae balo Harinam Sankirtane. Tuma kripa kore Shadabindu diya Deho Krishna nama dhane. Tumi kripa kore Shadabindu diya Deho Krishna nama dhane. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakti ache. Krishna se tomar, Krishna dite paro, tomara shakti ache. Amito Kanga Krishna Krishna Bole Dayatava Pache Pache. Amito Kanga Krishna Krishna Boli Dayatava Pache Pache. O he Vaishnava Thakura Doyara Sagara Idase Karuna Kori. Sagara. O he Vaishnava Thakur Doyara Sagara Idase Karuna Kori. Doyara Sagara Karuna Kori. Translation, please. O Venerable Vaishnava Thakur, O Ocean of Mercy, be merciful to this servant of yours, and purify me with the shade of your lotus feet. Your lotus feet I humbly hold. By helping me control the 6 urges and purify me of the 6 faults, bestow upon your servant the 6 good qualities. O Master, please give me the 6 kinds of holy association. I have sat down here hoping to have your company. The 6 urges are those of speech, the mind, anger, the tongue, the belly, and the genitals. The 6 faults are overeating or over-collecting more materially valuable things than required, over-endeavoring for material objectives, unnecessary talking of mundane affairs, being too much attached to scriptural rules and regulations or too neglectful of them, associating with worldly-minded persons, and desiring mundane achievements. The 6 good qualities are enthusiasm, confidence, patience, performing the regulative activities of devotional service, giving up the association of non-devotees, and following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. The 6 activities of holy association are offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam from others, and offering prasadam to others. Alone, I do not find the strength to chant the holy name of Hari. Please be merciful and blessing me with a drop of faith. Bestow on me the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, and you can give him to me, for such is your power. This wretch is simply running behind you, crying out, Krishna, Krishna. And now one more song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gurudev. Gurudev Kripa Dindu Diya Koroe Dase Trinapika Atihina. Gurudev Kripa Bindu Diya Koroe Dase Chinapekayati Hina. Gurudev Sakala Sahane Bolo Diya Koro Nijamane Sprihahina. Sakala Sahane Bolo Diya Koro Nijamane Sprihahina. Sakale saman korete shakati dehonata jata jata. Sakale saman korete shakati dehonata jata jata. Tabito Gabio Harinama Suke Aparada Habehata. Tabito Gaibo Harinama Shuke Aparara Behata. Kabiha Labie Jano Kritarta Hoi Benata. Kabiheno kripa labhe jano kritarta hoi benata. Shakti buddhi ame ati din koromore advasata. Shakti buddhi Ame ati din korobore atmasata. Jogyatya vichare kichu nahi pai tomara koruna saro. Jogyatya vichare kichu nahi pai tomara koruna saro. Karunana hoile kandiya kandiya prananara kiboaro. Karunana hoile kandiya kandiya prananara kiboaro. Gure kripa bindu diya khoroe dase Shrina pekayati hina. There's no PowerPoint for that? There's no PowerPoint on that bhajan? Ask him. And if there isn't, tell Shamalangi to make a PowerPoint. What? Tell Shamalangi. Satydev Prabhu, would you read the translation, please? Hai dozo.
Gurudev, give to this servant just one drop of mercy. I am lower than a blade of grass. Give me all help. Give me strength. Let me be as you are, without desires or aspirations. I offer you all respects, for thus I may have the energy to know you correctly. Then, by chanting the holy name in great ecstasy, all my offenses will cease. O Lord and Master, when will such mercy fall to this one who is weak and devoid of intelligence? Allow me to be with you. Oh, we still need the last verse. If you examine me, you will find no qualities. Your mercy is all that I am made of. If you are not merciful unto me, I can only weep, and I will not be able to maintain my life.
Now I had a question, Prabhu, like from what you said before and also what we hear in this song. Is it the ability to tolerate honor and dishonor, and we praise so much, but still it's when I do something, my enthusiasm comes from getting some credit for that. So how do you overcome that?
Well, as as we chant attentively in our daily practice, this constantly, in order to chant attentively, we have to watch what our mind is doing, or watch where our consciousness is constantly being taken by the mind. And so that causes us to become more aware of our ego, because we're not the ego, the false ego, so we start to watch it and see what it's doing, just like you just mentioned how your ego feels enthusiastic when it knows it's going to get something, and that's the motivation. So when we're able to observe that, our consciousness is like light, and that's the shadow. And so nothing more really is required than to just see that, and then in that seeing, we're situated in our true self, and where real humility is, where real tolerance is, and then we get the strength to do that. And then in this mood of bhakti, or this attitude of submissiveness and surrender, we take shelter in that. And when we, like the song, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur is explaining here, he said that when we can submit ourselves to our Guru in that mood, then we get empowered to understand him, or to understand what's going on. And so really our aim is always to be in that mood, and to just see the false ego when it arises like that, and just in that seeing, at that point it doesn't actually have a power over us, and then we're in our natural submissive position automatically. I just want to mention, if I may, that these songs are written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who he lived in the 1850s, and he's the spiritual master of the spiritual master of the spiritual master of our spiritual master. And he wrote so many songs, and these songs are under the heading of called Sharanagati, or surrender. And so there's so many teachings about surrender. And then Rupa Goswami, he defined surrender. What, do you know the Sanskrit?
Yeah. You mean the...
Huh? Can you say it aloud?
Go ahead.
Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjana. Doing the favorable.
Say it nicely.
Doing the things favorable. That's the verse. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjanam rakshati iti visvaso goptritvam varanam tatha atmanikhepa karpanyo sadvidha saranagati.
So he defined, because surrender can be a very abstract concept. So Rupa Goswami, he mentioned there's 6 aspects that we can kind of measure ourselves by. One is, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he wrote songs about each one of these aspects. And the one aspect is to accept what is favorable, and do what Krishna likes, do what the Guru likes, and to reject what's unfavorable. So avoid what Krishna doesn't like, avoid what the Guru doesn't like. Anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjana rakshishatiti means to depend fully upon to believe fully in the Lord's protection, or in the Guru's protection. So that's part of being submissive, and trust. It's trust, and the other is to understand that the Lord is the only maintainer, that we're not doing it ourselves. And then to be humble and submissive, and then to offer everything, to replace one's will with the Lord's will. And so we can observe these within ourselves. And then in these songs by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they're they're all about this process of surrender, and we get so many hints and guidance from him.
Okay. So to anyone in ISV or in the ISV area who's listening in right now, get on down here, because we're starting, and we'd appreciate it if you were here. I know you're up late, but so was everybody else. So don't straggle in, please. If you're coming, come now, because we'd like to have your association and company here. We'd appreciate it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And just a small practical announcement. There's street cleaning on the other side of the street. So if you think that you're lucky that you found a free parking spot, there's street cleaning between 9 and 11. And we don't want you to get that fine. Not on this side of Latham Street, but on the other side of the whole of Latham Street is street cleaning today. So
that
you got to move
announcement
your
was
car.
worth a lot. Very
Hare
helpful. I think we went yesterday without any incident. Nobody was towed. Radha Kripa Prabhu was scoping out the 7-Eleven, making sure nobody got towed. He was so conscientious. He didn't want anybody to have a bad experience. But I think we went undefeated yesterday. Early this morning, I offered this book, the Sri Vyasa Puja book, which has been published by the BBT for many, many years, since Prabhupada was with us, and continues to be edited by Dravida Prabhu, which is no small task. It takes him months. Devotees send in offerings, and he makes sure that they're not altogether ragged before they go in. And then he and Archita Prabhu put together this book, which is an offering to Srila Prabhupada every year. As is befitting on Sri Vyas Puja, disciples have to write something, speak an offering to their guru. It's kind of a test of what one has realized at a particular time. And it's also time for the disciple to introspect and see what kind of relationship do I have with my guru, what is coming from my heart regarding my relationship. So it's a very important day for disciples and for everyone in ISKCON, because we're so dependent on the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, and he's the central figure, the founder Acharya, under whose direction we're carrying out and we follow the parameters that he set for practicing bhakti and so forth. So for all those who are by Diksha, grand disciples of Srila Prabhupada, is a very important day also. Not even also, it's important for everybody. And therefore we also invite everyone to speak, whether they're a Diksha disciple or not. And however, we don't do it all in one day, because inevitably the time runs out. And not only that, people who are expected to speak or expecting to speak tend to come in installments. Therefore, it's hard to juggle the time. So, arigato. Fixed for now. It keeps going out of tune. This is a writing. I'll start. I may not finish the whole thing, but this is a preamble in the book, which is entitled "The Meaning of Vyasa Puja," and it's written by Krishna Swarup. To fully understand the meaning of Vyasa Puja, we first need to understand the meaning of Guru. Throughout the Vaishnava texts, the prominence of the spiritual master's role in a disciple's spiritually successful life is repeatedly emphasized. Please turn the gain down, thank you. One must worship the Acharya, who is the representative of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Discipleship is a two-way street. The aspiring disciple requests his or her selected guru for initiation, and conversely, the guru examines the qualities of that person to determine his or her suitability as a candidate for initiation. This selection acceptance process is not banal, like a job seeker attending an interview with a potential employer. When Krishna sees that the jiva is sincere, he makes the arrangement for the living entity to come in contact with a bona fide spiritual master. Our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, commented that Chaitanya Charitamrita instructs that the Guru is the manifestation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, according to all the evidence given by the Shastra and by the practical behavior of devotees, one must accept a Guru. But what kind of Guru specifically must one accept? Srila Prabhupada explains. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives a definition of Guru. Jare dako tare koho Krishna Upadesh. The bona fide Guru is he who advises his disciples exactly in accordance with the principles spoken by Krishna. The bona fide Guru is he who has accepted Krishna as Guru. This is the Guru Parampara system. In one sense, Vyasadeva is the original Guru, Srila Prabhupada explains. The original Guru is Vyasadeva because he is the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, wherein everything spoken relates to Krishna. Therefore, Guru Puja is known as Vyasa Puja. In the final analysis, the original Guru is Krishna. His disciple is Narada, whose disciple is Vyas, and in this way, we gradually come in touch with the Guru Parampara. Srila Prabhupada's devotion and immeasurable service to the previous acharyas, Sri Sri Radha Krishna and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are proof of his position as the empowered devotee, the Senapati Bhakta, who revolutionized and transformed our lives in the gloom of Kali Yuga. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj writes, Kali Kalera Dharm, Krishna Nam Sankirtan, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahi Tar Pravartan. The fundamental religious system in the age of Kali is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. Unless empowered by Krishna, one cannot propagate the Sankirtan movement. In June 1970, in response to a letter from Tamal Krishna Das, who had inquired about the perfection of the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada wrote, a spiritual master is always liberated. In any condition of his life, he should not be mistaken as ordinary human being. Throughout my whole life, I do not know what is illicit sex, intoxication, meat eating, or gambling. So far my present life is concerned, I do not remember any part of my life when I was forgetful of Krishna. Srila Prabhupada also explains in Srimad Bhagavatam that one who is surcharged with transcendental love of Godhead can without difficulty see the personality of Godhead in every atom and every movable or immovable object. And at the same time, he can see the personality of Godhead in his own abode, Goloka, enjoying eternal pastimes with his eternal associates. Sitting in Srila Prabhupada's quarters in Mayapur, 1976, during his daily afternoon darshan, I personally heard him explain this point. When an inquisitive disciple asked him if a pure devotee sees Krishna everywhere, Prabhupada held out the cupped palm of his right hand and replied, even within a drop of water, the pure devotee sees Krishna and his associates in all of his pastimes. This was a mystical moment when we caught a glimpse into Srila Prabhupada's transcendental inner world. Later I read in Srimad Bhagavatam that the Lord's pastimes are also being televised in the heart of such a devotee. An allegory of a man who found a gourd lying on the road points to the ingenuity of the bona fide Guru. This traveler later found a stick on the path and then a wire. In themselves, the separated items were not particularly useful, but by putting the gourd, the wire, and the stick together, the man made a vina and began to play beautiful music. Similarly, Srila Prabhupada came to the West and, as described in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, found some rejected youths lying here and there and by Krishna's grace, the combination was successful. As a rock thrown into a pool creates powerful ripples affecting the entire body of water, Srila Prabhupada brought the holy name to the West, purifying a degraded world and indeed inspiring monumental, although not universally acknowledged, change in the broader society. The ripples have eventually become a tsunami, inundating the world with the nectar of Krishna's names. Temple-based kirtans have inspired the practice of chanting these sacred sounds even in more mundane circles. We witness this with the popularity of kirtanas of yoga, retreats, and similar venues around the globe. An essential element of bhakti yoga is therefore to worship and serve the pure devotee. Madbhakta puja bhyadika. Krishna advises that worshiping his pure devotee is better than worshiping him directly. Chadiya Vaishnava Seva Nishtar Payeche Keba. Srila Narottam Das Thakur says, without serving a devotee, one cannot be released from material entanglement. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself also instructed us to become not servants of Krishna directly, but servants of the servant of Krishna. Worship of Srila Prabhupada on Vyasa Puja Day is not restricted to those who took direct initiation from him. For ISKCON to continue to flourish, it is imperative that all ISKCON members honor Srila Prabhupada's appearance day for at least the next 10,000 years, inspired by love and respect for his divine grace, and deep gratitude for the sacrifices he made for the good of humanity. Keeping our founder Acharya as the focal point of our spiritual society will assure that our spiritual lives will thrive. Shifting the focus spells disaster. Srila Prabhupada has uniquely presented the philosophy and practice of bhakti yoga in a way that is accessible to anyone, regardless of age and gender, background, or birth. He has indeed cut the knots of material attachment from the core of our hearts, just as he referred to his spiritual master, his divine grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as a Vaikuntha man. So we too describe our Srila Prabhupada as no ordinary spiritual master, but as Lord Chaitanya's Senapati Bhakta, the commander-in-chief of his army of devotees. This honorific is not to be taken as exaggeration or dismissed as an overflowing of the sentiments of his followers. In Sri Chaitanya Mangal, Srila Lochan Das Thakur describes how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself predicted the future appearance of a great Senapati Bhakta. Quote, taking the sharp sword of the congregational chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, I will root out and destroy the demoniac mentality in the hearts of all the conditioned souls. If some sinful people escape and, giving up religious practice, go to far-off countries, then my Senapati Bhakta will come at that time to give them Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada is without doubt that Senapati Bhakta to be honored by all Vaishnavas. In 1967, due to ill health, Srila Prabhupada planned a return to India to recuperate. His impending departure in June of that year caused much speculation and deep concern. Could his neophyte disciples carry on if he never returned? In chapter 12 of the Hare Krishna Explosion, Hayagriva Das writes, some of the devotees worried that Swamiji had decided to go to India to leave his body, asked him whether, during his absence, one of his godbrothers should come to America to assume ISKCON leadership. The minute this question was presented to him, we sensed that it was offensive. Swamiji became very grave, closing his eyes, and for a moment he seemed to consider it. Then suddenly we saw tears falling from his cheeks. My Guru Maharaj, he was no ordinary spiritual master, he said, wiping away the tears. He saved me. Later, Swamiji told us what we should have always known. There was no one to replace him. The very idea was insulting. If someone comes and tells you something different, he said, you will be confused. The subject was dropped forever. Srila Prabhupada writes in the concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, although according to material vision, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada passed away from this material world on the last day of December 1936, I still consider His Divine Grace to be always present with me by His Vani, His words. I think that His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is always seeing my activities and guiding me within my heart by His words. It is to be admitted that whatever translation work I have done is through the inspiration of my spiritual master, because personally I am most insignificant and incompetent to do this materially impossible work. I do not think myself a very learned scholar, but I have to do this. But I have full faith in the service of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. If there is any credit to my activities of translating, it is all due to His Divine Grace. In a Srimad Bhagavatam purport, Srila Prabhupada instructs us how to worship Him by paraphrasing Guravashtaka 7. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has advised that the spiritual master acting on the Supreme Lord's behalf must be worshipped as being as good as the Supreme Lord, for he is the Lord's most confidential servant in broadcasting the Lord's message for the benefit of the conditioned souls involved in the material world. The Vyasa Puja ceremony therefore celebrates the transcendental position of that spiritual master coming in disciplic succession. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The introductory paragraph of this essay discussed the importance of accepting a guru in the disciplic succession as an essential step for advancement in Krishna consciousness. Additionally, the kind of guru is of critical importance. That spiritual master is one who has himself served a pure devotee in the disciplic succession. Trying to develop spiritual life without accepting a bona fide guru will lead only to failure. In March 1975 in Atlanta, on the appearance day of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Srila Prabhupada delivered a discourse in which he emphatically instructed his disciples on the importance of accepting a bona fide spiritual master. Quote, "So try to receive Krishna's grace through the disciplic succession coming from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then you will understand everything. Yasya Devi para bhaktir yata Devi tata garau." This is the process, Vedic process. One should have unflinching faith in God and the spiritual master. Don't jump over to God, crossing the spiritual master. Then it will be failure. You must go through. We are observing Vyasa Puja ceremony, the birth anniversary of our Guru Maharaj. Why? We cannot understand Krishna without spiritual master. If anyone wants to understand Krishna by jumping over the spiritual master, then immediately he becomes a bogus. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Guru Krishna kripai pai bhakti lata bij. This is Vedic injunction. Tadvidi pranipratena priprashnena sevaya. Nobody can understand Krishna without going through his most confidential servant. This is the meaning of this Vyasa Puja. You cannot surpass. If you think that you have become very learned and very advanced, now you can avoid the spiritual master and you understand Krishna, that is bogus. That is the meaning of this Vyasa Puja ceremony. We should always pray, Yasya prasadad bhagavat prasada, Yasya prasadad. Only by the grace of spiritual master can we achieve the grace or mercy of Krishna. This is the meaning of this Vyasa Puja, offering obeisances by parampara system. End quote. Further exploring the meaning of Vyasa Puja, we can pose this question. How should this sacred and ancient tradition be conducted? On February 25th, 1970, on Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's Vyasa Puja Day, the Los Angeles devotees saw Srila Prabhupada offer artik to a large picture of his Guru Maharaj. After the artik, he directed his disciples in offering flowers to the picture of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. Still standing before the picture, he said he had nothing to offer his spiritual master on that day except his disciples. He then read aloud the name of all his disciples. By contrast, in Tokyo, Satyadeva was there for this, later that year, on the 74th anniversary of Srila Prabhupada's appearance, it was apparent that the devotees did not know how to observe the etiquette of celebrating the spiritual master's Vyasa Puja. He asked the devotees whether they had not seen how he had observed the Vyasa Puja of his spiritual master in Los Angeles. Confused by his request for the pushpa, flowers, devotees brought pushpana rice instead. Srila Prabhupada scolded his disciples for concocting and for acting improperly. He said that in devotional service, everything must be done properly according to the parampara method, without fabrication. Mukarvin, can you open that door up there so it doesn't slam all the time? The next day, wrote Satsvarup Das Goswami in Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita, a simple traditional ceremony was performed and the devotees felt ecstatic. By pleasing the spiritual master, then everyone is pleased. All the practitioners of Bhakti Yoga are duty-bound to be loyal servants of the parampara system, being mindful of the correct way of performing devotional services to the Lord and the spiritual master. Thus, the Vyasa Puja celebration epitomizes the true meaning of faithfully following in the line of our Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, without deviation and with full concentration. The Vyasa Puja Day is the grand and solemn occasion when we join together throughout the world to honor our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada. With hearts full of deep spiritual emotions, we meditate on the sacrifices he made out of love for his spiritual master and for all of us. Like the sparrow trying to dry up the ocean, we attempt to glorify him and express our deep love and respect for him. In a letter to Bali Mardan, dated August 25th, 1970, Srila Prabhupada wrote, "The spiritual master is the representative of Vyasadeva because he carries the message of Vyasadeva throughout the world. As members of ISKCON, we specifically rededicate ourselves to the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, the great representative of Vyasadeva on Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja Day. We can also resolve that every day throughout the whole year, we will rededicate ourselves to serving him and his movement, and remember that Srila Prabhupada is always with us through his Vani." Again, in the Lilamrita, Satsvarup Das Goswami recounts the intense feelings of separation two members of Srila Prabhupada's fledgling movement experienced due to his impending return to America in December 1967 after a 6-month sojourn in India to regain his health. When the day for Srila Prabhupada's departure finally arrived, he gave last instructions to Achyutananda and Ramanuja. "Just pray to Lord Krishna that I can go to America," he requested Achyutananda. How can I? Achyutananda replied. "You'll be leaving me." "No," Srila Prabhupada replied. "We'll always remain packed up together if you remember my teachings. If you preach, you will become strong, and all these teachings will be in the proper perspective. When we stop our preaching, then everything becomes stagnated and we lose our life. If we remain sincere and honor Srila Prabhupada not only on his Vyasa Puja Day, but every moment of our lives, his ISKCON will continue to thrive and our lives will be successful. We will remain packed up with Srila Prabhupada." The mission of the spiritual master is the mission of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And Srila Prabhupada's mission is our mission. That is the true meaning of Vyasa Puja. That was by Krishna Rupa Devi Dasi. Krishna Rupa Devi Dasi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And Prabhupada wrote this poem in February 1935 on the occasion of the Vyas Puja celebration of his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which his guru was very pleased to hear this poem. He liked it and he shared it with many people. Adore ye all, the happy day, blessed than heaven, sweeter than May, when he appeared at Puri, the holy place, my Lord and Master, his divine grace. O my Master, the evangelic angel, give us thy light, light up thy candle. Struggle for existence, a human race, the only hope, your divine grace. Misled we are, all going astray. Save us, Lord, our fervent pray. Wonder thy ways, to turn our face. Adore thy feet, your divine grace. Forgotten Krishna, we fallen souls, paying most heavy the illusion's toll. Darkness around, all distress, the only hope, your divine grace. Message of service thou hast brought, a meaningful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to us, unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. Absolute is sentient, thou hast proved. Impersonal calamity, thou hast removed. This gives a life anew and fresh. Worship thy feet, your divine grace. Had you not come, who had told the message of Krishna, forceful and bold? That's your right. You have the mace. Save me a fallen, your divine grace. The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, your divine grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Go Premanande. Can you let the devotees know in the kitchen that we're going to start now, and that any of them may be called on at any time, and that there is no deferring today. Once you're called, that's it. Okay? Thank you. Let them know. What? No, there's no order. Thanks. Naveen and Narada Prabhu, we'd appreciate it if you would lead off as one of the leading preachers here at ISKCON of Silicon Valley, and also an exemplar of one who's followed Srila Prabhupada's instructions to the T, even though having not personally met him or been on the planet at the same time he was. We'd be very honored if you would lead these offerings today with your opening statements and offering.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Agyanatimarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Litam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupam Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantika Vanchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Dear Srila Prabhupada, thank you for coming into my life and gracing this world with your presence. Just like in nuclear science, something seemingly very small makes a major impact. In a similar way, your arrival in this world and your arrival to America, as it is being recorded, was seemingly a minor affair. New Yorkers are not very impressed by anyone who gets off the boat, because a lot of people are getting off the boat daily. But in a similar way, that nuclear power is being appreciated or dreaded or feared, your appearance and your activities in this world are still being felt more and more every day. We are very fortunate to be able to witness your potency by coming in contact with people who are appreciating your contribution to this planet. Just on Sunday, one youth showed up at our program. Actually, I met him on the street earlier on this week, and I gave him a few of your books. And after reading them, he decided he wanted to come to the program, so he met me again on Sunday, and I walked him to the program. That's usually the best way of how to bring people to the temple. You just grab them by the arm and you just walk them to the temple. So, and later on he commented and he said, yes, some of the things that he read were pretty direct and pretty heavy, but he really liked your boldness and not mincing with words, of putting it the way it is, that they're demons and they're devotees. I thought that was very interesting. On a different note, you were very inclusive. I'm listening to your morning walks, and oftentimes persons try to portray a exclusive position of saying, oh, this group, this religion, that religion, they're all bogus, they're all useless. And you usually retorted by stressing that if they are following sincerely, and if they are actually following the process, and if they have bhakti, if they have devotion to God, then they're actually following properly, they're actually bona fide. So you did not go for debate when people were throwing out these statements, but you stuck to your inclusive nature of your presentation of Krishna consciousness without making any compromise on the pure nature of bhakti. I met another man on the street in San Francisco who said that he walked into your presence in the early days on 22nd Avenue, and that the devotees, which was then probably a regular custom, just brought him to your room. Anybody who would walk in the door, you just bring him to Prabhupada. And that he sat down next to you, and you were busy doing something, so you did not speak to him, but that was perfectly all right with him, because his perception of a spiritual teacher was that, as he said, that we were communicating non-verbally for quite a length of time. And it was perfect, because you didn't speak and I didn't speak. And after some time of that, you gave him some prasadam, and then he left. And he was very touched by that you did not try to tell him everything that he was not ready for. Later on, now he was ready to take a book and to appreciate. Guru Gauranga Prabhu always mentions this about this government official in Geneva who, when brought to you and you asked him, are there any questions? He said, no, I don't have any questions. Upon which you picked up the harmonium and you just chanted Hare Krishna for about 40 minutes. And then you put the harmonium aside and told him, this is what we do. Give him prasadam, and the man left. And so that not a word was spoken, but everything was said. And as we can see nowadays in this world, a lot is being spoken, but nothing much is being said. I really appreciate your conciseness and the impact of your writing by meeting the people that came in touch with your books, and also by personally studying them. I'm very fortunate to go through your books on a regular basis, and I feel like an addict, like an alcoholic. You see them sitting in the park or on the corner, hugging their little bottle or their little brown paper bag with their can in it. And their meditation, their focus really is that I want to drink this deeply. I just want to cherish this. It's like if you ever seen a baby with a bottle, you don't take away the bottle from the baby. It's a bad move. So in a similar way, a person who is sincere about their spiritual practice, you don't want to take away his Bhagavatam from him. You don't want to take away the books, because that is what, you could say, broke the camel's back when a person is being faced with being separated with their dearmost worshipful deity. That is not acceptable. So thank you for giving us your wonderful Bhaktivedanta purports. I've been reading some of the essays of your spiritual master and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and I'm appreciating how you blended, how you extracted, how you distilled all the essence of their teachings. Honey is very much appreciated because it is the essence of the endeavor and labor of countless flowers and countless bees. So it is the distilled essence of what Mother Nature has to offer. It is very sweet. In a similar way, like a honeybee, you have gone through the teachings of all the previous acharyas, and you have collected all these sweet nectar, all this pollen, and you have processed it. You know, the bees, they process all this pollen and they turn it into honey. I'm not a scientist who can describe how technically this is happening, but in your writings you have pointed out that this is what actually defines realization. That you take on the information, you apply it in your life, and then you have your own realization upon applying these teachings. So that is required. And there is no other taste in any other books that I have found that can equal, that can parallel or surpass the taste that we get from studying your books deeply. So thank you for spending all these countless nights in writing your purports and in spreading this movement far and wide. And thank you for allowing me to take part in this wonderful movement and appreciate your tremendous impact on this planet more and more. Just like nuclear fusion, it is slowly building up. It is the Hare Krishna explosion has taken place a while ago, but the ripple effects of this tsunami are still being felt around the world, where the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, are being felt from what started off as something seemingly insignificant, something seemingly small and not noteworthy, to a major spiritual force that has touched the lives of countless people. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for giving us this opportunity, for giving us your guidance and your shelter through your teachings, through your disciples, through your movement, and for giving us a meaningful life, for giving us service. Without service, our lives are useless. Thank you for giving us the example of showing us what fidelity, what true adherence to the instructions of the spiritual master means. not by doing the exact same thing that the spiritual master does, but by understanding and contemplating and meditating and struggling to implement those teachings, those instructions in our own lives. Thank you for giving us this example and for being with us, for sheltering us, and for giving us your loving ISKCON family. Srila Prabhupada, thank you for everything. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu. And for those, anyone else who's on the list, please be ready. No deferring this morning. If you're in the kitchen, just know that we're going to have to call on you so you can come in here and give your offering because we have to keep moving along. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. I want to endorse everything Navina Narada just said. It was perfect. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Tvam Nah Sandarshito Tatra Dustarang Nistitirshtang Kalim Satpaharang Pungsam Karnadara Ivarnavam. We think that we have met your goodness by the grace of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship for crossing over the ocean of Kali Yuga, which deteriorates the good qualities of human beings. Srila Prabhupada, somehow by providence, by causeless mercy, I was able to come in contact with you and your movement, your books, your devotees, and I can't think that my life could have been any other way. I can't imagine what my life would have been like if this hadn't happened, and I don't want to imagine it. But I can know what wouldn't have happened, what I wouldn't have had in my life. I would not have had your books, Srimad Bhagavatam. I was always eager to find something of value, philosophical information, artistic value in some book. But compared to your books, nothing compares. It's one of the major themes in all of culture. In fact, it's the ultimate goal of all of culture, is to understand God and our relationship to God scientifically. And this Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition that you've brought to us is just superlative, far superior to anything that I'm aware of. And yes, it is a literary tradition, and not only in your books, but also your books have introduced us to the books of the six Goswamis and other great, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj, and other great acharyas. And you reveal the commentaries of the acharyas. But it's not only a literary tradition, as you often said, it's not just for armchair philosophers or speculators, people that just sit, and they're fans of some books and then they go live their lives a different way. But you teach us a whole way of life. And these are the other things that I wouldn't have had. The Maha Mantra, the deity worship, the devotees, and the mission. It's popular, it's becoming more popular even in this country that people are interested in meditation. But the meditation of chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra is very powerful. It's the most effective. Of course, to actually achieve perfection in it is not easy, but the other kinds of meditation that everyone are promoting are not very effective at all, really. And it takes us to the highest place of pure, intimate love of Krishna that's not available through other methods of yoga. And the deity worship gives us the opportunity to see the beautiful form of the Lord you have revealed to us that all of the deities in ISKCON have appeared by your grace, and you're revealing to us the actual beautiful form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as Vaisheshika was so nicely mentioning last night when he was talking about deity worship. As far as devotees, there's no one else I would rather be, I could be really friends with than devotees. And I've always been a little bit of an oddball in my own sort of world, and it's hard to find people that you know I can really relate to and that care about the same things that I care about. But especially now that I've become a devotee, I've found a whole family of people who care about Krishna consciousness and about making progress in spiritual life. As a child, in fact, it was noted by one of my teachers that although I was very bright and capable of learning, I questioned the reason why were we studying this, or why were we doing this, or what was the point of anything, and what, you know, I would use that as a way to be lazy. But when I found, by your grace, I found Krishna consciousness, then I understood what the purpose of life is, and what there was something to do and achieve. And it's not a difficult thing to master one's senses, one's mind, and to actually practice bhakti yoga. As you point out, people say that bhakti yoga is the easy path, but if it's so easy, why don't they do it? And to actually do it correctly and achieve success in it is not only, he says, Srila Prabhupada writes, it's both sublime and simple. It's to do it correctly, you reach the greatest sublime heights, and it's simple for the beginners, but to actually do it correctly requires mastery of the mind and senses and self-control and all the good qualities of spiritual knowledge and austerity and so forth. And the devotees are on this path. They're also struggling to achieve perfection in this goal of life, and that only with devotees can I have intimate friendship, and for that I'm very grateful. But association is so important that what might have happened if I just went along with other associates that were doing other nonsense things and didn't know about Krishna consciousness, my mind would have been taken away and my life would have been spoiled. So I'm so happy that I've been introduced to your devotees. And mission is something that people need in life. We need to have a sense of duty that we're serving a higher cause, an important cause, something valuable and worthwhile, good for humanity. People are dedicated to their families, they're dedicated to their countries, they're dedicated to humanitarian causes. But you've given us the vision to see and also the order to carry out the highest cause of distributing this Krishna consciousness, Lord Chaitanya's teachings all over the world, teachings and practices, because it isn't just armchair philosophy, but it's a practice. So you've given me so much by your causeless mercy. I haven't always proved worthy, but I'm continuing to try to become a successful disciple and serve your mission and your devotees and chant the holy name correctly. Hare Krishna.
Grace of Karnath Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now we call my old friend Maharaj Das Prabhu, who's come all the way from, where do you live these days? Visalia. So the representative of Visalia, please come up.
One of the mercies of hanging around Krishna consciousness for a few years.
Use the mic, because everyone's listening.
Hare Krishna. Namam Vishnu Padaya. Krishna Prastaya Bhutale. Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namini. Namaste Saraswati Devi. Gauravani Pacharni. Never say shall Sunyavadi. Paschitya Desa Tarine. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So,
Put the microphone in front of his mouth, please.
Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama.
Bring our attorney in.
Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama.
Fixed.
Rama, Hare Hare.
Kurnath, that's why we need you. Please keep that in mind.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. So, Srila Prabhupada, again, you give me an opportunity to serve you. Hare Krishna. So, by first coming in contact with your divine grace, by one of your books, Sri Ishupanishad, 1972, you've been so merciful, far beyond anything I could even dream of. I am so thankful for this opportunity today to remind myself of how fortunate I really am by getting your book. Then, the most amazing thing to me, I began meeting people who were interested in these books. From Jiva Das, who taught me the Maha Mantra and convinced me to become a vegetarian. To Jayananda Prabhu, who actually plucked me from the mire, from this suffering that I was going through due to my foolishness, my stubbornness, my puffed upness, though I had nothing to be proud of. But even a pauper is proud of his penny. So, Srila Prabhupada, I'm here today only by the mercy of your divine grace. And one of the most important things in my life are those disciples of yours that allowed me to go on with their association and show me their love for you. I can only pray to stay in that association. Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.
His Grace Maharaj Das Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, and Mahendra Prabhu.
This will be short and hopefully sweet. On this official, auspicious occasion of the celebration of the appearance in this world of my Divine Master and Spiritual Father, His Divine Grace, Abhay Charan Aravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada. I'm especially reminded of the meaning of that term, His Divine Grace, or one of the meanings. The ultimate substance of our existence, the Supreme Person, Sri Krishna, assures us in Bhagavad Gita that to anyone who has sincere desire and achieves even some slight progress on the path to transcendence, that he, Sri Krishna, will provide means and opportunities to realize the highest perfection and complete happiness for our very being, our very selves. That providence from the Lord, from Sri Krishna, is threefold. One aspect is manifest in Shastra, the sacred Vedas, and literatures faithful to and in pursuance of the Vedic truths. Another aspect is, or rather are, the sadhus, the saintly adherents devoted to the glorification and services to the Lord and to His devotees. And finally, His divine grace is manifest as my most merciful Sri Guru, Srila Prabhupada, who appeared among us as a perfect exemplar of the final perfections to which we aspire. He is our Savior, our guide, our teacher, and dearest friend of both we as students, followers, disciples, and in fact all human beings. In the near future, historians will record that his appearance and activities redirected the hell-bent trajectory of contemporary human society. Srila Prabhupada plucked this lowly yet so very fortunate soul from amidst a dark morass of philosophical and theological speculation that would otherwise most certainly have led me back into the workaday, guaranteed fatal world of pursuing the vain pursuits of profit, adoration, and distinction. He has provided me, and He provides me with a simple formula for perfecting my existence and happiness in all respects. But alas, I struggle with my mind's fleeting attractions to the wispy shadows of material desires. Pardon me. But by His grace and mercy, and by His revelation to me of the other aspects of Krishna's merciful providence, I'm convinced beyond doubt that I will someday, although probably in some far distant future birth, be able to begin to provide unerring service at His feet, at the feet of my Divine Master, Srila Prabhupada. Some years ago, I was with some God brothers. We were backpacking for a few days in the Sierras. Keshava Prabhu, who's now passed on, Dwarkanath Prabhu, and we had a discussion about what should we most realistically pray for. And we finally concluded that we should pray that in each future birth, which we all feel is certainly guaranteed that we'll have, each future material birth, that as soon as possible, we be reminded of our true position, our true identities. And that's what Srila Prabhupada has given us in this life. He's given us our true selves. And that turns out, at the time I was unaware of it, but it turns out to be reflected even more beautifully by Srila Prabhupada himself. This is recited. It's very inspiring, and it's also part of his Vyas Puja offering from 1935, which Vaisheshika Prabhu read the poetry part of it. So with your forbearance, I will recite it again. I have a large printout of this, what I'm going to read, what Srila Prabhupada wrote, on the wall about 3 feet from my eyes at my desk, so I can contemplate it, because it so perfectly states the mood that I find in myself. Srila Prabhupada said, "Personally, I have no doubt I have no hope for any direct service for the coming crores of births of the sojourn of my life. But I am confident that someday or other I shall be delivered from this mire of delusion in which I am at present so deeply sunk. Therefore, let me with all my earnestness pray at the lotus feet of my Divine Master to allow me to suffer the lot for which I am destined due to my past misdoings, but to let me have the power of recollection that I am nothing but a tiny servant of the Almighty Godhead, realized through the unflinching mercy of my Divine Master. Let me therefore bow down at his lotus feet with all the humility at my command." All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Mahendra Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki,
Jai.
Gaur Premanande Haribo, Shwari Devi Dasi.
ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनाशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. Dear Srila Prabhupada, 122 years ago, you appeared on this planet by your causeless mercy. And on November 14th, 1977, you left. And that was 41 years ago. I did not have the good fortune of associating with you in person, though you did come to my hometown in 1976 when I had just passed high school. An opportunity sorely missed. I take solace from these words that you addressed to your dear students in Vrindavan in the August of 1967. Never think that I am absent from you. Physical presence is not essential. Presence by message or hearing is real touch. Lord Krishna is present by his message, which was delivered 5,000 years ago. We feel always the presence of our past acharyas simply by their immutable instructions. I hope you will understand me right and do the needful. Every year on your appearance day, I cherish how you spoke to me from the beyond through the purports of the Bhagavad Gita. For once I felt I was not cheated. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for touching my life in such a unique way. I recall I had read the entire Bhagavad Gita published by Gita Press Gorakhpur in Hindi, which is my native language, while my mom was breathing her last. After 5 hours of non-stop reading and accolades from my siblings, realization dawned on me that not a single word from that book made any sense to me. But when your Bhagavad Gita as it is came into my hands 9 years later, it was a totally different story. The language was simple, English, no use of thou art and thine. The transliterations helped me relish the shlokas, since I had long forgotten how to read the Sanskrit script properly. The Sanskrit pronunciation guide was much needed, as were the deep and illuminating purports. As I dug around to find more about you, I discovered that you had written or translated many, many more books. It felt that I had won the jackpot. I did not know that there was another one in store. In your letter to Bhakta Dawn, while stationed in Los Angeles in December of 1973, you said, "The spiritual master is present wherever his sincere disciple is trying to serve his instructions. This is possible by the mercy of Krishna. In your attempts to serve me, and in all your sincere devotional sentiments, I am with you, as my Guru Maharaj is with me. Remember this always." So when I ran to ISV after reading the descriptions of the hellish planets in Canto 5 of Srimad Bhagavatam, and saw your disciple Vaisheshika Prabhu sincerely serving you, you came alive to me, first through him, and then through his wife Nirakla Mataji, your beloved disciple, and also through all of your other disciples as I became acquainted with them one by one. This year, as I started doing some secretarial work for the North American Vision team, I have come across many more of your disciples, and I am so impressed by their continued dedication despite their advanced age. You taught by example, Prabhupada, when at the age of 69 you crossed the ocean just to fulfill the desire of your spiritual master, and your disciples are following you. I have won the jackpot twice. And the better news is that this is a lottery which has no gain, has got all gains and no curse. In my 11 years with ISKCON, I have slowly come to know more and more about you, but I know that my knowledge is incomplete. Your lifetime of preparation, dedication to your spiritual master, complete surrender to Krishna, enthusiasm, determination, courage, boldness, friendliness, honesty, penchant for cleanliness, immense fund of knowledge, kind-heartedness, helpfulness, tolerance, equanimity, mercy, dignity, clear vision, planning, organizing, negotiation skills, fun-loving attitude, and last but not the least, your faith in the holy name. No wonder you are everyone's well-wisher. If I somehow or other get even a fraction of these great qualities, my birth in a human body will be worthwhile. My simple prayer, dear Grandfather Srila Prabhupada, is that come what may, I always be engaged as an instrument of Lord Krishna's mercy without desiring any accolades. I think I can already hear you admonish me. Shraddha Devi Dasi, what is the difficulty? Hare Krishna.
Shraddha Devi Dasi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So where's Jagarini? said she was coming. Anyway, when we say come, you got to be here. We've got, there's Jagarini. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We're keeping in mind that this is a live studio audience. We're not catering to the internal crowd. We're catering to the audience online, which is a lot bigger than you can imagine. And we welcome everybody who's joined us online. And we welcome Her Grace Jagarini Devi Dasi, who has faithfully served Prabhupada for so many years. Hare Krishna.
Nam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Buddhale Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nirvisesha Sunyari Paskachare Starni Vanchakalpa Turbis Chakri Pasandabheva Tapati Tanam Pavanevya Vaishnavebha Namo Namaha. Srila Prabhupada, on this 122nd Appearance Day celebration, I just want to express my gratitude for giving me my life. As to reiterate what most of the devotees have been saying here today, Prabhupada didn't just change our lives or touch our life, he actually gave us a new life. And it's hard to express the amount of gratitude that I feel for that. I think every day I feel so blessed to have my senses filled with the things that Srila Prabhupada taught us to fill our senses with. The hearing and the chanting and the remembering and the smelling and the tasting, all about Krishna. And it's the higher taste. This higher taste, we've heard Prabhupada mention it, we've got restaurants named that, we've got cookbooks named that, but it's a real thing that once you've tasted it, there's no turning back. And the advantage I'm feeling for that taste is it propels me through the hard times, through the different times when I might forget, through the times when it seems that material success or family life or so many things are so important. The taste tells me different. It makes it easier to leave some of those things behind and continue moving forward. So today, Srila Prabhupada, my prayer is that I could always remain at your lotus feet, doing some service for your movement wherever you are, and make you smile like you did once when I cleaned my house so nicely when you came, and I also, twice Srila Prabhupada smiled at me directly when he came to my house one day in Los Angeles, not to visit us, but because the house was a new temple apartment they were showing him. And Srila Prabhupada came unannounced. They just said, it was right after Guru Puja, and the devotees ran over to me and said, Prabhupada's on his way to your house. And fortunate for me, Prabhupada empowered us so much in those days that it was, I used to roll up my sleeping bag and wash the floor before Mangalarti back then. So it was fortunate for me because Prabhupada came in and he looked at me and said, very nice, very clean. That was the first time. The second time he smiled is when he was giving my son a cookie. And my son was reaching with his left hand, and I took his left hand away and I put his right hand on the cookie. Srila Prabhupada could see I was teaching, and he smiled. at me then too. So, Srila Prabhupada, I'm praying that you'll smile at me again and keep me in the shelter of your lotus feet. And thank you for all these wonderful devotees who keep me on track and keep me inspired and keep me enlivened. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna.
Her Grace Jagarini Devi Dasi Ki, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Now we ask Madhava Govinda Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Dear Srila Prabhupada, please accept my most humble obeisances on this most auspicious day of your appearance. All glories to your divine self for giving us the whole of Krishna consciousness movement and everything. In my recent readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, I was just thinking that how Prabhupada says that all his purports are his ecstasies, and Prabhupada says that the Bhagavad Gita is for the beginner and the Bhagavatam is for the graduate, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita is for the postgraduate studies. So same way the ecstasies or the purports in different books are high class, in a way that like Prabhupada speaking the Bhagavad Gita class is like for the general audience, and the Bhagavatam is for the devotees in the temple, and the Chaitanya Charitamrita purports are like Prabhupada calling them in the room and like personally giving instructions and on how to serve, how to keep on practicing Krishna consciousness, or giving the deeper aspects of Krishna consciousness. So I just wanted to share something that I was recently reading. In the section where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu goes and meets Haridas Thakur, and he asks Haridas Thakur, I'll just read it from there. He says, "My dear Haridas Thakur, in this age of Kali, most people are bereft of Vedic culture, and therefore they are called Yavanas. They are concerned only with killing cows and Brahminical culture. In this way, they all engage in sinful acts. How will these Yavanas be delivered? To my great unhappiness, I do not see any way." Then Haridas Thakur replies, Haridasa kahe, Prabhu chinta na kariha, yavanera sakara dekhi dukha na bhaviya. Haridas Thakur replied, "My dear Lord, do not be in anxiety. Please do not be unhappy to see the condition of the Yavanas in material existence." In this purport, Prabhupada mentions that when the Lord is unhappy because of the condition of the fallen souls, the devotee consoles him, saying, "My dear Lord, do not be in anxiety. This is service." Everyone should adopt the cause of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to try to relieve him from the anxiety he feels. Same way, Srila Prabhupada, you took the anxiety of the whole parampara of Srila Bhaktisaranga Thakur when first time he met. He told, he was instructed by Bhaktisaranga Thakur to preach this message. And he kept that instruction all throughout his life as the guiding force in whatever he does. And to preach this, obviously one has to have special empowerment, which again it's mentioned in the Antalila of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It says that Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tare Pravartana. Unless one receives the special power of attorney from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he cannot preach the glories of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And we could see the whole entire world having devotees chanting Hare Krishna. You had to be empowered. And in another purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you mentioned, what's the secret to be empowered? And there, in the purport to Madhya Leela, 19.135, this is a section where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is instructing Rupa Goswami. In that section, it's mentioned that to be empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he said one has to qualify oneself. This means that one must engage 24 hours daily in the loving devotional service of the Lord. The material position of a devotee doesn't matter because devotional service is not dependent on material considerations. In his earlier life, Srila Rupa Goswami was a government officer and a grihastha. He was not even a brahmachari or a sannyasi. He associated with milechas and yavanas. But because he was always eager to serve, he was qualified recipient for the Lord's mercy. A sincere devotee can therefore be empowered by the Lord regardless of his situations. So there are two qualifications which Prabhupada mentions to be empowered. One is the eagerness to serve, and the other is in the next paragraph he mentions, he talks about sincerity. He mentioned the eagerness to serve and sincerity are the two qualifications by which one is empowered. And in your own practical life, Srila Prabhupada, you explained how you are eager to serve in all situations of life, whether it was in the earlier days, especially the section that really touches me is when you're in New Delhi, walking long distance to save money so that you can print books. Or I'll read it from the Lilamrita itself, maybe. One time while he was walking on a secluded street, pursuing his back-to-Godhead duties, a stray cow, the kind commonly seen wandering the streets of any Indian town or city, suddenly charged him, goring him side with her horn, and knocked him down. At first he couldn't get up, and no one came to help him. As he lay there, he wondered why it had happened. This is another section. It says, summer came and the 110-degree heat made it almost intolerable to spend time out of doors. Hot, dust-laden winds blew in the city streets. Street-side hawkers closed their businesses during the day. In early May, during 112-degree heat, a man collapsed in the street and died of heat stroke. But Abhay ignored the heat and the ordinary limitations of the body. One day, while delivering back to Godhead to various addresses in the city, Abhay suddenly began reeling, half unconscious, overcome by the heat. At that very moment, an acquaintance of his, a man he had approached during his preaching, happened to be passing by in his car, and he took Abhay to doctor. The doctor diagnosed him as a victim of heat stroke and ordered him to rest. There are several such instances. Apart from this, even when Prabhupada had come to America, like the first 2 years was a complete struggle. His typewriter got stolen. It was like coming to an altogether different place and a different culture, having no idea about. It's quite courageous in a way that he didn't know anything about anything. He just had a little idea about things here and there, and to keep going on and to keep going through all these struggles, that showed the eagerness to serve that Prabhupada had. And I was and the reason I was thinking that Prabhupada had this eagerness to serve was because he was a hearing champion. He heard his spiritual master Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, and he kept those instructions very faithful in his heart. So, in one of the purports in Bhagavatam, Prabhupada says that the grace of the spiritual master is received through no other part of the body than through ears. I think it's in somewhere in 4th canto. And Prabhupada, this is when Srila Prabhupada, in one of the instances when Prabhupada was going for the parikrama, Rajmandal parikrama, to hear from Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur, And then Prabhupada writes there in the Linamrit section, it says, so I met them in Koshi, and Keshav Maharaj was informing that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is going to Mathura tomorrow morning, and he will speak Hari Katha this evening. Anyone who wants to may remain, or otherwise they may go to see Sheshashai Vishnu. So at that time, I think only 10 or 12 men remained. Sridhar Maharaj was one of them, and I thought it was wise. What can I see at this Sheshashai? Let me hear what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati will speak. Let me hear. So Prabhupada had this eagerness to hear, and although Prabhupada later says that although many of the things which Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur was speaking, he couldn't understand because he was speaking in very high philosophical terms. But he felt that by hearing him, because there's the vibrations coming from him, would purify him. And he kept on hearing. And when Srila Prabhupada's name was recommended for initiation, Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur marked him saying that he likes to hear, Abhay likes to hear. So that's the reason why Srila Prabhupada was empowered to do such miraculous things, that he had the eagerness to serve, and he was a hearing champion. In a way that he kept hearing and kept following him. So on this day I pray that, pray for his drop of his mercy, so that I can continue to imbibe or follow the instructions given, and be a hearing champion someday, and to follow in his eagerness to serve that he had. Thank you.
His Grace Madhava Govinda Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. And now we have the great fortune of hearing from Sukhada Devi Dasi, come all the way from Visalia. Where do you live now? Exeter. Wow. This is even more rare and exclusive. You would have got a special prize if it was England or Connecticut.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharane Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskacha Deshatarane. In our small community, Visalia, Exeter, Three Rivers, the devotees there get together weekly, and we have Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have Kirtan. And during the Srimad Bhagavatam, we started from the very beginning, and one of the verses that I originally heard for the first time in 1971 from the first canto, and Akurnath actually mentioned this verse, but I actually began my writing to Srila Prabhupada on that verse. And it is, we think that we have met your goodness by the will of providence, just so that we may accept you as captain of the ship, for those who desire to cross the difficult ocean of Kali, which deteriorates all the good qualities of a human being. To my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, the captain of our ship, I offer my humble and respectful obeisances at your feet. In February of 1974, you were asked by an aspiring devotee, how serious would it be for me if I should miss the golden opportunity to become your initiated disciple? And you replied with these words, and I quote, one should know that the value of accepting a bona fide spiritual master is more than we can calculate. It is not a mere formality. Of course, everyone is encouraged to chant Hare Krishna, but until one gives up sinful activities and becomes determined to serve Krishna through his representative, then the firm fixing up of devotional service will not take hold, and there is every chance that one will fall prey to all sorts of material desires and have to come back again in the next life. And one cannot guarantee that he will be born in the form of life that he may desire, unquote. How fortunate I am to have not missed out on the opportunity to be your initiated disciple. Despite the many obstacles I faced during my early days of being a devotee, you kindly accepted me as your disciple. You became the captain of my ship. You had so much to deal with in those early days, and everything you did was beyond amazing. You always thanked your disciples for helping you spread the message of Lord Chaitanya that your spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, wanted you to bring to the Western world. Many times, if a disciple struggled, strayed, or even blooped, you would not hesitate to offer your love and kindness and encourage the disciple to not give up, but to move forward. Your words of encouragement always included telling your disciples to chant 16 rounds, rise early, attend Mangal Artik, go on street Sankirtan, and to stay in the association of devotees. Over and over again, you spoke of these things, calling them our routine practices. Another kindness I remember is that you would often tell a struggling devotee to keep moving forward and not to dwell on unfavorable past situations. In a letter written in 1972, you wrote, "It is better to forget past incidences. Whatever is done. Let us look forward to correcting our mistakes." Many devotees left your association because of some fall down, but you did not want them to go away. You always wanted your disciples to forget the past misfortune and move ahead in Krishna consciousness by following all the routine practices. In another letter from 1972 about these routine practices, you wrote, "The smallest neglect to these matters of routine practices will cause all our other programs to fall and to fail. These things are the backbone of spiritual life." Your kindness and encouragement was always felt and appreciated by your disciples. You told us in 1972, another quote, "I am successful only because I am following strictly the orders of my Guru Maharaj, and I do not deviate. Therefore, people respect what I am saying, and they listen because I do not say one thing and do something else," unquote. This is the example you have so mercifully set for us. Whenever you spoke to visitors, guests, and your disciples, we all knew your honesty in presenting Krishna consciousness exactly as was passed down from the previous acharyas. You said, "Example is better than precept." And we had to learn not just to follow the rules, but live the life of a devotee. In so many ways, your ISKCON is struggling, but there are some glorious advancements being made. And we always look forward, guided by your words and examples, and keep you as the captain of our ship, which we will all move closer to, and we will all move closer to pleasing and honoring you in the true way that we should. Your unworthy disciple.
The great Sukada Devi Dasi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And now we have the great pleasure and fortune of asking Srisha Devi Dasi, please come give an offering. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Naum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namane. Namaste Sarasvati Devi Gauravani Vicharine Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paschacha Desha Tarine. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. So I didn't write anything, but I just want to express my appreciation for being initiated by my spiritual master. It's a miracle in my life. It just happened for me. And as I look at my life, I see that I never really lived in the temple. Been a householder, a mother, a wife, and now I'm a grandmother. And yet, I have such wonderful devotee friends. We have a wonderful Sangha. I live in Three Rivers, which is part of the Visalia Exeter group, which I'm nourished by. It's like, Krishna has always been there. Prabhupada has always been there. Wherever I've gone he's there. And that's amazing. I guess I must have a desire that I don't even understand to be part of this, because it's been a part of my life for many, many years now. My wish, my prayer for the coming years of my life, how many there are, is that I can listen better to people. I can hear what they're asking, and I can give them what little knowledge I have about spiritual life, about my life, and how I've taken this program to become a servant of the Lord. What I think has worked for me, to give it to others, and in that way serve my spiritual master. It's the only way I know how, is to come from my heart when I see people and they ask me questions or they just start to talk to me. I have a little gift shop, and so it happens. People come in. I have Prabhupada's books. Just the other day, a woman was like, "Oh, you have Bhagavad Gita." I mean, it's like these are just tourists from all over or local people, and they come in and they find this amazing little bit of information, and somehow I'm in the right place at the right time to give it to people. They ask for mala, they ask for tulsi, and I just hope I can continue to serve my spiritual master in that way. Devotional service is something I've really struggled to understand. What is devotional service? What does that mean? I don't have any devotional service. And yet, as I look back on my life, I see that if what we do, the focus is to give Krishna, to give these principles of a life we live in a practical way to others, to our family, even if they don't want to hear it or they're anti to it, to still try and explain to them, but this is a wonderful thing and it works for me. And maybe it can work for you, or maybe part of it can work for you. So I hope, that's my wish, that's my desire, that I can be that kind of servant, and that all the doubts and questions I have will be answered. So I hope, I hate to talk about it, but at the time of death that I'm better prepared. I think about it, it's like, I watched my husband pass. I've watched other people leave their bodies, and it's a very special time. And so I do think about it, like, I hope at the time of death I can have this balance, that I still have the faith, that I trust, and that I can always be a part of this, that I will always be a part of it. No matter what my next birth is, I really have no control over that. I'm just at your mercy. I'm at Prabhupada's mercy, at Krishna's mercy. Just keep me close. That's all I ask. Keep me close. And thank you for keeping me as close as you have during this life. And I thank all of you, all my brothers and God sisters. You're amazing. I appreciate everything. And Jai Srila Prabhupada.
The Grace Shrisha Devidasi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Kanka Devidasi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Om Ganyati Mirandasya Gana Gana Salakaya Chakshuramilitam Jaina Tasma Shigurave Namaha. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for everything you've given us, and thank all of you for allowing me to speak today. I want to, Akuranath's presentation was the same as I feel, like somehow or other, by good fortune and by special grace, I met Srila Prabhupada in 1970, and it was through his literature that I first met him. So I have known all these years how important this literature is. It's when I first read two essays that Srila Prabhupada wrote. One was called Krishna, the Reservoir of All Pleasure, and the other one was Who is Crazy? Those two essays are so valuable, and they explain to me, they actually answered every question I had ever asked any of the nuns or the priests. I was raised as a Catholic. And Srila Prabhupada, you have given me a life that I've always appreciated and hope that I can serve you. I know when I was on the yatra, one of the topics that was brought up was that one of the important services that we can do for our Guru is to chant our 16 rounds every day, and I always try to put that first and foremost in my life, to chant my 16 rounds. And of course we have to also remember to not commit the 10 offenses. So, but last night we were talking about Srimad Bhagavatam, the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam, and I was sitting at Prabhupada's feet in the Berkeley Temple in 1974. Hardly any devotees were there, but there were quite a few reporters who were interviewing Prabhupada. There was about 15 of them. And one reporter said, "So Swami, when you die," and he interrupted, and he said, "I will never die. I will live on in my books." And then he said, "These books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. Unfortunately, that was not recorded. The whole entire conversations with the reporters was not recorded. But I remember it very clearly, and I remember always trying to make that time every day, make sure I chant my rounds, make sure I read. And I have a bag that I carry around with me, and sometimes I'll even go into town and hide so I can read, and then attend the programs as much as possible. But actually, I feel like a very fallen disciple. And one time I was praying to Prabhupada. I said, "I feel so fallen." And Prabhupada came to me in a dream, and he patted me on the head, and he said, "You're doing just fine. You're doing good." So I think that's what we need to remind ourselves, that we just got to keep going forward. And the most important thing is chanting our rounds and associating with devotees and reading these books and distributing these books. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
The Grace Kanka Devi Dasi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gandharvika Radha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Sugiba. Atode. Hey. Next.
We were just, early this morning, I was just helping Mataji in decorating Srila Prabhupada, and we were hearing something. And this thought just came to my mind that we saw Prabhupada being listed in CNN as people who got successful in career after 65. But the materialists see that he just started an organization. But then I was thinking, if Prabhupada just started like any organization like Microsoft or Apple, ISKCON is just like that, why are the CEOs not being worshipped around the world? Because I hate them when I go to work. But Prabhupada is being worshipped. So I was just thinking that the only difference is Prabhupada did it for me, for my benefit, but they have their benefit in their heart. But it takes a long time to understand what Prabhupada has done. Like this morning when Prabhuji was talking about submissiveness and hearing from the spiritual master, like how much Prabhupada exemplified that, even though he heard only few times, but he practiced it in his life so that he can influence people with that just submissiveness that he had for his spiritual master for 10,000 years. It's so deep-rooted, and it will be deep-rooted in the human society. So much power of submissiveness. And I was just simply because he had that submissiveness for his spiritual master, Prabhupada could start this without anything, because if they want to start anything, they need land, labor, and capital, plus health. But Prabhupada didn't have any of these when he came to America, except that his submissiveness to his spiritual master. But everything manifested in his life. So I sincerely pray to Prabhupada, because another pastime that came to my mind was Prabhupada just didn't put rules that everybody, I started this organization, these are the rules and everybody should follow. So I was hearing in Radhanath Swami's lecture, he was just saying how once they were building the Juhu temple, there was this builder called Sethi, and they didn't build any room for Prabhupada initially. He was going through so many austerities. But in the end, they built a very comfortable room with marble and carved wood and everything. So he invited Sethi in this room and he said that, maybe you should live in this room. Come and stay with the devotees. But then he was touched and he asked Prabhupada, but where would you live? And then he said, I have many other places to live. So Prabhupada took so much trouble to give comfort for others. But when I see all Prabhupada's disciples and how much Prabhupada went through, which is so much struggle to come here alone and bring Bhagavatam and everything, but then his disciples also, they didn't have a set of Bhagavatam sitting in every room to read, but they had to wait for every canto to be released. But they all read with so much eagerness. But even though we have it in every room, sometimes we tend to take for granted. So I was just thinking, all the temples, like how much comfort we have in each and every temple of ISKCON. Especially, I was thinking about the Janmashtami yesterday. It's a comfort about the newcomers. And I walk into the temple, I don't need to worry about anything. Prasadam will be served. But I simply pray to Prabhupada for giving us this comfort. And I sincerely pray that we utilize this opportunity to sincerely give back every moment of our breath in serving Him and His servants. Thank you very much.
Gandharvika Radha Devi Dasi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. And now we have the great pleasure and honor of calling Her Grace Mahaguna Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna.
I feel a little greasy. I'm cooking a morning. Thank you. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhuttare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Tanamini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pujarini Nevase Sasanyapadi Paskachada Satarine. Jai Prabhupada. As you may know, I always cry on this offering because because no, okay, getting better. Anyway, so I thought I'd write them just a little bit. My little checklist. I was thinking, at this time I always think about Prabhupada, what I should, tell Prabhupada. What do I appreciate most about Prabhupada? And then I thought, well, what made me stay in Krishna consciousness for so long? And then when I think about it, I think it was faith. Somehow I had faith in Prabhupada. Because when I first came to Krishna consciousness, you may know the story that how I became Krishna conscious is that I had no idea what was going on. Because I was in Japan, there was no books, there was nobody who spoke Japanese that can explain it to me. I just saw these devotees dancing, chanting, eating very unusual food. So it was it was very difficult for me to actually see the message or the greatness of this movement. But I guess I was attached to my husband, the boyfriend then, and so I just said, okay, I'll try, And but something happened. When I tried a little bit, I became your disciple. I don't know how, because I had no inclination to spiritual life. I had no deep feeling of seeking absolute truth. But I guess I had a little bit of faith in you, just a little. Somehow, this must be okay. And many years, throughout the year, the first time I met Srila Prabhupada was in Takao Temple. This was in Japan, big farmhouse. And devotees had made this kind of high platform in the room, and Vyasa-san was on top of that. So the Prabhupada was very high, and looking down on us. And then each of us were supposed to go up to Prabhupada and offer flower. And I saw Prabhupada, I thought he was a very large person, very tall and big, because he was up there. And I just felt, he must be somebody very great, just like we have this huge Buddha statue, humongous Buddha statue in temple, and everybody goes and bow down. So it was natural for me to go down and bow down. And but Prabhupada was very, he looked very grave. He was looking at us, not really smiling, but I think he was feeling, how can we save these people who doesn't know anything about Krishna, they don't know anything about the culture of devotional service. How can I, that's the feeling I got. So that was the first time. Then I saw Prabhupada in Los Angeles when I got initiation. And then you probably know the story also. The Prabhupada had called myself and my husband to his quarter. And Prabhupada was sitting, with one leg up, and one knee up, and a very jolly mood. He was with many other senior devotees, smiling really big, and he asked me a few questions, you know. I felt very accepted. I felt very loved. And then I saw the Prabhupada's, the soft side there. And I felt secure. I said, oh, maybe I could, he's more approachable. I can, you know, learn something from him. So that's the feeling I got. Then in Hawaii, Prabhupada was there, and Prabhupada's quarter was upstairs, and downstairs was a temple room. And in evening, Prabhupada would play harmonium and sing Jaya Radha Madhava. And you can stand on the ground and listen to him. And it's towards the evening, and there was the temple's front was covered with night blooming jasmine. And you could smell this wonderful aroma. And in front of that, there's a huge bushes of Tosi Devi. You could kind of slight smell of Tosi Devi. And you just feel the Prabhupada's connection to Krishna, so deep connection. And then I think throughout this incident, I developed the strong faith in Prabhupada. What he said, what he taught is the same, what he's doing. And whatever he told us to do, I do a little bit, then the result is always there. So because that conviction, I think I was able to stay for a long time. And I was talking to my husband this morning. Vajrashekar Prabhu used to sell water purifier. And we wanted one too, but we didn't know what kind or where to go. And, you know, there are many different kinds. But by then we're a good friend. We had very strong faith in him. And so we didn't ask anything, you know, what does this water filter do or what kind of stuff cleans? We just knew. If he says, okay, this is it, that's it. So we bought a water filter from him and it felt very good. I think it was the same kind of sentiment I had to Prabhupada. I didn't have to ask many questions. I didn't have to, you know, philosophically argue this and that because I don't have that complicated mind anyways. But I just knew that his conviction to his spiritual master, his connection to Krishna was strong enough to convince me this is it. That if I keep doing it, I'll get what he says I will get. So I think that's why I stayed for a long time and continued to stay with Prabhupada. And I really pray to Prabhupada and everybody else also here to keep me in your company and keep serving you as much as I could. I don't do a very good job of that, but that's my offering to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Maguna Devi Dasi ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Now we call Pri Kishori Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, the word adolescent, dol in Spanish means trouble. So, over the years, in my adolescence, as I'm exiting, I've encountered many questions about the purpose of my life, you know, what I'm doing. Though we are, you know, I was brought up in a Krishna conscious environment, I had a lot of questions, and I found myself asking my mother multiple questions daily. And it was like an unceasing fire. The more she poured the oil in, the more questions I got. So I started to understand that I needed to take more shelter in reading Srila Prabhupada's books, because when I started going through Srila Prabhupada's books a little bit more systematically, with a little bit more attention than I had been putting in previously, I started to realize that the answers to the deepest questions of our life are there. And sometimes I would start reading expecting that, if I were to ask this question to anyone, who would ever understand my situation? Who would be able to empathize with me fully and be able to answer the question in the way I anticipated? And I would open Srila Prabhupada's books and it would be like right there, like very boldly presented and with so much love from his heart that it would be easy for me to take and apply into my life. Maybe not fully, but gradually, step by step. So today, I'd like to first start by thanking Srila Prabhupada for being the most empathizing friend to so many souls. And this is the Brihat Mridanga. It's unimaginable what impact Srila Prabhupada's books are having on so many people. We hear stories of they read just one line and just changed their entire life. And I feel that that's not just for the newcomers. Even us as devotees, reading one line could be the essence to solving this big mystery of how we can advance in our Krishna consciousness in a very personal way. Last year in October, I had gone on my splurge to South India, and I had this hope of learning Sanskrit. And I went to the University of Madras, which is very respected for their Sanskrit scholars, and I met the head of department, and he was teaching me for some time. But what ended up was our sessions would end up with him saying, "Tell me more about ISKCON. Tell me more about Srila Prabhupada. How did Srila," because we spoke in Tamil, I can't convey the amount of emotion he conveyed in his questions. He would really ask me, how is it possible that an old man can go to India and make such a big difference? And so, this made me go back and read and read and read, because he was a professor. He wouldn't take my superficial answers. And so as I read more and more and more, he said, why don't you just come and give us a small presentation to the students about, Srila Prabhupada. Do it like, have a little thesis, then support it with a few stories and give a presentation. I was a little shocked because I had stepped out of this whole academia circle. But that was one of the great opportunities for me to go back and study what Srila Prabhupada, what his life was and how he brought this mission to the West. And so this group of PhDs in India, what they, at least in South India, these Sri Vaishnavas, they're all lawyers, doctors, mathematicians, very high-graded professionals. And after they are retired, they say, what do I do with my life? And they have these Brahminical origins, and they decide to go back to school because they have so much appreciation for Vaishnavism. They pursue their master's and PhD in that field. So most of that department is comprised of elderly people who have crossed decades in their professions. So, the teacher of that head of department was Professor Narasimhachari, who had written 100 verses on Srila Prabhupada, which was shared by Radhika Raman Prabhu. And so I presented those verses first to describe how Srila Prabhupada had a cross, sampradaya application. Like his teachings and his preaching had such a wide reach that he even touched the hearts of various sampradaya scholars. And then, I gave my presentation, and they were so moved. that Srila Prabhupada could have done this at such an elderly age. And I was just thinking how even with the basic facts that I knew, with my very meager understanding of spiritual life, I could present this idea to them that Prabhupada's glories were so great that even if they're presented in a very simple medium, they can be assimilated by many people's hearts. So I also thank Prabhupada for being so great that any part of his glories that is described can move the hearts of so many people. And I pray that for so many years I've been selectively practicing Krishna consciousness in a very childish manner. As children, we tend to go towards the aspects that are more sweet, that are more easily digestible, easy to follow, not so harsh and honest. Terse and honest. So I want to ask Srila Prabhupada to give me the strength that I don't hide from my own inconsistencies, and I can take true shelter of his books, and that thank you for giving me such wonderful spiritual masters who are always there whenever I have millions of questions, and who give me the love, attention, and care that is needed for me to take my baby steps in Krishna consciousness. And I hope that I can one day fully embrace their instructions and serve you.
Shri Kishori Devi Dasi ki. Nanta Chaitanya Prabhu, who has become one of our lead preachers here in the Bay Area, pioneering, which is one of the aspects that Srila Prabhupada emphasized so much.
Om Jnanatimrandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, I think Vaisheshwari wants me to overcome my fear of cameras. So, I offer my respectful obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, who you are the real teacher. So, my meditation at the moment is how the Acharya has such conviction, and we just heard from Mahaguna Devidasi how it's the conviction that changes people's lives. And Srila Prabhupada had conviction beyond what any other Acharya has on the face of this earth, and that's how he was. That's what inspires people to follow. It's not a logical or it's nothing that can change our hearts apart from that someone is so sure. He is so sure that Krishna is there and that he is going back to him. You'd always say, we have his name, we have his address. We know what he looks like, we know where he is, we're going there. And that's all that's required for someone to say. If he knows that, then everyone will want to go with him. And another thing he would often tell his students is that if you're not convinced, then you can't be a teacher. A teacher that tells something to his students that he's not convinced of himself, he's a quack. I would say this is a quack. And what use is a quack to anyone in society? So we have to be convinced ourselves that we can help others to go back to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada, you have this realization, and we are very grateful that you came to this earth for some time and shared the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, Nityasiddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunyai. This was Srila Prabhupada's, one of his big convictions. He said, I believe Lord Chaitanya said this to Sanatana Goswami, or one of the teachings, so that our love for Krishna is eternally in the heart, and we just have to awaken it again. And so he found those parts of Krishna's teachings and Mahaprabhu's teachings that were relevant. So that's an incredible thing. It's not necessarily everything the teacher says we have to memorize it. And no, it's those, he was able to select the essence that was applicable to the Western audience in America, and he did it so wonderfully, and I'm grateful to have met his wonderful students and be able to participate and work my way back to Krishna. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, for everything. Hare Krishna.
His Grace, Ananta Chaitanya Prabhu Ki Jai. Bhakta Kaushal, please come.
ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्य दीक्षा। Thank you, Guru Maharaj. Thank you for allowing me to speak about Srila Prabhupada. Although I feel that any amount of words are insufficient to glorify Prabhupada. It's said that every word of an acharya is unlimited. It has unlimited meaning. So I would use the words from Prabhupada books to explain the glories of Srila Prabhupada. So in 13th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives 20-fold path of knowledge, and each items from that 20-fold 20 set of items is exemplified by Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada was an living example of humility. Whenever people will say, "Oh, you have done so gorgeous things, you have made 10,000 disciples in the Western world," Prabhupada says, I am no one's guru, I'm a servant. So he always exemplified the humility. He didn't have any pride. He exemplified pridelessness, although there were so many things that he could be proud of his achievements, but pride could never touch him in any way. When I remember one incident when his disciples were coming and offering him some very costly watches, one after the other. So Prabhupada would take one watch, and if the next disciple would offer another watch, he would give that watch away and then take that. So he was very simple, and he didn't have any pride. Non-violence, Prabhupada himself gives the meaning of non-violence in his purport, that it means to not prevent the flow of spiritual knowledge for the general public. So who can be a better person who has shown how to follow non-violence? There have been so many big leaders in this world who have saved the bodies or the coat of the drowning men, but they could never save the actual person who was drowning in the lake. So Prabhupada has actually, by his books, saved the souls, and he has saved the humanity. That is true non-violence. He has been serving in various capacities while he was in India. And when he came to US, he was serving the Western crowd in New York for almost 1 year. He would stand in queue when these hippies in New York would stand in for the restroom. There was just one restroom in that small matchless gift store. And Prabhupada would just stand in that queue, although he was the one who was doing all kinds of things there, and he was such a senior person, but still he had so much humility and tolerance to go through all that. He was simple in his living, as many devotees mentioned. He showed us how to approach a bona fide spiritual master, because his life was lifetime in preparation. As many devotees told, he approached Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur by hearing. And then there are so many other items that can be said about him. He had complete renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, because he actually exemplified in his Grihastha life how an ideal Grihastha can at the same time be a devotee. So there are innumerous qualities that Srila Prabhupada has. You can go on, and they have touched me really. And personally, I feel there is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam where King Rahugana speaks to Jad Bharat, and he says, "O best of the Brahmanas, my body is filled with dirty things, and my vision has been bitten by the servant of pride. Due to my material conceptions, I am diseased. Your nectarian instructions are the proper medicine for one suffering from such a fever, and they are cooling waters for one scorched by the heat." So I personally feel that I am low-born, I am foolish, I am insignificant, I am always desirous of material comforts. But the association of Srila Prabhupada disciples and his grand disciples have saved me from this mire of ignitions. So I just request him to keep me in humble service of his disciples and grand disciples, and give me the mercy, although I have no qualification to be of any service. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada.
Bhakti Kausho Prabhu Ki. Now the court calls Nirkula Devidasi. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Te Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Bhucharane Nirvase Sarasunyabadi Pastyachadi Sitarane Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyevasha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Dear Srila Prabhupada, I offer my prostrated dandavats in the dust of your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada, the spiritual leaders who came before you, who founded the major religions of the world, preached among their own people. But at the age of 69, to spread your transcendental message, you traveled to a country halfway around the world with people and habits foreign to you. After establishing your ISKCON in North America, over the next 8 years, you continued to traverse the globe, liberating souls on 6 continents. No other person in the history of the world, has done what you have done to spread the word of God and to give the opportunity to develop pure love of God. By your example, we learn the importance of taking the instruction of the spiritual master to heart. Without your blessings and the blessings of the Vaishnavas, we are unable to do anything of value in this world. The greatest blessing is to know your instructions and to be able to follow them, to know your purpose and to be able to be one with that purpose, assisting you in your service to your beloved Guru Maharaj. To live and serve amongst those who, by putting their own comforts and desires aside, have dedicated their lives to fulfilling your aspirations is one way in which you have blessed me. If I am able to serve them in some small way, I can serve you. If I can imbibe a droplet of their sincerity, I have hopes of someday pleasing you. On this holiest of days, your Vyasa Puja, ISKCON celebrates all that you have given us. By acknowledging and remembering your sacrifices and pure qualities, and by expressing our profound gratitude, we affirm your illustrious and all-important position as our founder Acharya. This once hippie, now happy, thanks you again. I didn't deserve any of the mercy you have shown me. You know my heart with all of its many deceitful ways, and you know that there is also the budding desire to assist you, please you, and be with you again one day. Please do the needful so that I may fulfill only those hankerings which will allow me to be eternally serving your divine lotus feet. Your eternally indebted and grateful daughter, Nirkula Dasi.
The great Nirkula Devi Dasi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. And now we call our Kirtaniya extraordinaire, Govinda Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vancha kalptarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. My humble obeisances to all of you, great exalted Vaishnavas, and to Vaisheshika Prabhu. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Actually, I'm not prepared to say anything.
Yours is a lifetime of preparation. No one can say they're not prepared. That's all we're doing is preparing 24 hours a day, so please go ahead.
Yeah. But I was thinking, while all the exalted Vaishnavas were actually expressing their life stories and their emotions, I was thinking, what would I say if I was if I was actually called? If I look back at my life, in India, I really wasn't very spiritual. I hardly did any social service, or I did not visit many temples. The only dham I actually visited was Vaishno Devi, because my cousin actually wanted me to go with him, and I said, yeah, let's do it. Okay. And I always wanted to visit Ayodhya, though. I had a strong liking for Lord Ram. And when I came to US, everything changed. Everything changed because there I was engaged in, I got associated with this organization called RSS, Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which is very pro-Hindu organization. And I had a lot of negative thoughts about RSS as well, because portrayed by the media, it's a very different thing. The person who is a preacher kind of pushed me into social service. And for the next 2 years, we actually did fundraising for underprivileged people in India for the healthcare projects, education projects, clean tech projects. And I kind of enjoyed it. But the motto was Nar Seva, Narayan Seva. First you serve humanity and then you are serving Lord in such a way, indirectly. And then one fine day, when I was actually volunteering for a New Year celebration in the Hindu temple, which was not even the Hindu New Year, to be honest. I just happened to come back and met some Vaishnavas. And they had a table and some transcendental literature was there. And I happened to, I was curious, what is this? Let me try this out. And I started absorbing that content. And I was shocked. I felt like, I've been touched by a 440 volt, live wire of, so it was so powerful. Like, what is this? So then I kept absorbing it. And then very soon I started doing Ekadashi Vrat, started chanting rounds, and started associating with devotees. And then I realized, instead of Nar Seva, first do Narayan Seva. So Narayan Seva became my primary objective. And through Narayan Seva, Nar Seva, because gopis say that Bhuvi Grananti ye Bhurida Jana. So, O Krishna, who is actually giving you Kathamritam and your transcendental awareness and consciousness to people, they are the biggest givers, the biggest donors. So, I think I was able to preserve the aspect of doing good for others, but then I also realized I needed a lot of help in the first place. Kala karma gunadhino. So we are always in the jurisdiction of Kal, Karma and Guna. And I myself realized I had so many limitations. Even after getting Diksha, it is, I have lots of ways to go before I can say I am actually surrendered. So I consider myself so fortunate to be in this ISV community surrounded by such exalted Vaishnavas. I have so many shortcomings, I know that, but I'm grateful that you've allowed me to stay in the association. And all this has happened because of Srila Prabhupada. One person has changed my life, Srila Prabhupada. And all the exalted Shiksha Gurus like Vaisheshika Prabhu and other great Vaishnava Acharyas who have actually influenced me. I just feel it's because of Srila Prabhupada only. And so I cannot express enough thanks, enough gratitude to in any words to say, to Srila Prabhupada actually, because honestly I did not deserve it. And in spiritual life, mercy is the only way of going forward. So I pray to Srila Prabhupada that I can have more and more inclination, ruchi, utsaha to absorb Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and understand his purports better, and have more and more surrender, because unless you have surrender, it's very difficult to really understand the purports. You have to have that. So this is my humble prayer to Srila Prabhupada, that please allow me to enter into that consciousness. Hare Krishna.
His Grace Govindadas Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki. And now we call Aishan and Kate. You come up together, our two Russian contingency. Aishan. How does she get away so fast? Okay. Well, do you want to both come up? Put another chair, Corvin.